all our fears.
We're strong in our unity. Peace, our destiny. Here we are.
Standing tall. We're standing tall.
Standing tall.
We are one.
We are 100 years
of unity. Nigeria.
We will stand.
We will stand.
Oh, this land of mine.
This land of mine.
Nigeria. On my mind.
On my mind.
I pledge to you my loyalty, my love, my ability.
Ooh, and as we celebrate ourselves, we shall rededicate
To serve a new Nigeria, for a better land for all. Here we are, standing tall through adversities. We are one.
100 years.
100 years.
Unity, yeah.
Nigeria. We will stand on the mountain, shouted in the valley. Nigeria has come a long, long way.
On a journey to our future.
Of brighter and better days. Together we will make it strong and invincible. We are on our way. Oh yeah.
One nation,
Nation,
indefeasible.
Nigeria
Oh,
is
yeah.
here to stay. We are standing tall as a nation. Standing tall through adversity. Yeah, 100 years. Nigeria. Here we
We're still together.
Check. Mic check. Getting ready. We are ready. Thank you. Can I have more power? Ready to go? Ready. Thank you. Ready to go? All right, I'm going on the next one now. Thank you. On the next one. Ready to go? Ready? Thank you. I'm going to the third one. Ready to go. It's quite harsh now. Give it bottom. Okay. Ready to go? Ready? Mike said ready. Next one. Ready? Okay, yes. It's too bright.
Conflict. In northern Mali, the country is divided de facto into two. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, 120 armed groups, yet it is the busiest airspace in the continent of Africa. Minerals are being taken away to Europe and America. Central African Republic the same, Libya the same. Several months ago, I wrote to the chair of the African Union and all African heads of state and said, convene a meeting with only one agenda item. What can we do to save Africa from this slide? Only 4 replied. That is the state of the continent of Africa. We must deal with the basic things. We must solve conflict. We must change our governance. Because if we don't deal with the question of governance, we are going nowhere. Africa has become a continent where after every election there is conflict. Because the pursuit of power is a cutthroat competition where throats are actually cut. And when the SMO was here and he consulted the oracles, he discovered that we have a problem in that direction. And that the sooner we resolve that, the safer we will be. Africa can rise and Africa will rise. But it's not going to rise by prayer and fasting. We must pray and fast, but it will not happen. Because the last time I checked, even those of you are believers, when Abraham was taken from Ur of the Chaldeans and given Canaan, it was not on a silver platter. He had to fight the Canaanites. He had to fight the Philistines. That is the nature of divine instruction. Go ye and subdue the world by the sweat of thy brow. The kitchen where they make manna was closed. Manna will no longer come. Because you must now make your manna. And it is our duty, therefore, as Africans to begin to rethink the younger generation. You know, there is a saying in Chichewa in Malawi that more precious than our children are our children's children. So when we are doing these things, we must remind ourselves that we are doing for this generation and generations yet to be born. the realization that the headwinds that stand on our path are numerous, and that there is no shortage of fifth columnists within our ranks. The SMO spoke, and if the SMO were to speak a little longer, he would have reminded you of what Chinua Achebe said in Things Fall Apart, that they came and put the things that held us together, and we can no longer reason as one. And he said, we may have sent the white man away, but what about our brothers whose minds they have infected and infested? And there is no shortage of them. So Africa can and will arise. And if you look at the continent of Africa, she has always been conscious of the need to do right things. And if you look at the continent since 1963, and I can remember this so very vividly, I can remember Kwame Nkrumah in 1957 on the 6th of March saying, the freedom of Ghana means nothing if the rest of Africa is not free. He says the same thing in 1958. He repeats the same thing in 1960 in Casablanca, Morocco. He repeats it again on 25th of May, 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where he tells the 32 heads of states gathered there, we must live here with one army. We must live here with one currency. We must live here with one foreign policy coordinated. And I even suggest that we can have a capital, and I suggest Bangui in Central African Republic because it is the most central. But we listen to him not. After that, of course, we have had our gains. Under the aegis of the OAU, Africa was able to eliminate apartheid South Africa. Under the aegis of the OAU, Africa was able to chase away the Portuguese in Cabo Verde, in Angola, in Mozambique, in Guinea-Bissau. Under the aegis of the OAU, Africa was able to chase away the apartheid regime in what is now Namibia and the Ian Smith regime in what is now Zimbabwe. Let us not judge ourselves too harshly. We have made our mistakes, but sometimes it is proper, as my sister said, that we see half full glass rather than half empty. We must not debilitate ourselves by constantly bashing ourselves and looking at Africa from jaundiced eyes from Europe and America. And I'm suggesting to you, we have and will continue to make our mistakes. Look at Africa and the decision that she has made for herself over the years. As early as 1980, Africans sitting here in Lagos, Nigeria, came up with the Lagos Plan of Action. And the Lagos Plan of Action told Africa, in order for Africa to realize our potential, we must trade amongst ourselves. But the neo-colonizer was not resting. A little earlier, 5 years earlier, the neo-colonizers had sat down in Lomé in Togo, not too far from here, and came up with an agreement of African and European and Pacific countries. And when that did not work, they sat again in Cotonou here in Benin and came up with the Cotonou Agreement. They are never resting. We must never forget that. The neo-colonialist is alive and well, and is always trying to frustrate what we do, because Africa is their hunting ground. And we did not stop there. When we are doing things, you tell me what Africa has not tried to do. In terms of the airspace, we agreed in Yamoussoukro, in La Côte d'Ivoire, that we will open our airspaces in 1988. We sat in Abuja here in Nigeria in 2001 and said we were going to spend not less than 15% of our budget in the health sector. We sat in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea in 2014 and said we were going to focus on agriculture. We sat down in Maputo in 2013 and said we were going to ensure that our women were mainstreamed in the activities of Africa. We sat down in Abuja in 2013, in 2014 and said we were going to have free movement of people, and once again sat down in Kigali, Rwanda 2018 and said we were going to eliminate visas. We sat down in Abuja and said that we were going to silence the guns in 2013. We did not. And we sat down in 2020 and said we were going to silence them. And now the guns are alive and well. And who are supplying us with the weapons? It is not us. It is others. Should we blame them? Yes, we should. Should we blame ourselves? Yes, we should. So Africa has always been a battleground. And the rhetoric that we see and the manner in which we ourselves are educated. My sister talked about education. But really, what are we teaching ourselves? It is fella Nicola Pokuti said, "Teacher, don't teach me nonsense." And I'm suggesting to us that most of us, including most of us who are here, we are so very thoroughly miseducated that what we must do is to unlearn the burden that we have in our mind. Those of us who are lawyers, when do we feel happiest? When we cite an English authority to determine a land case in Abeokuta. When we talk about the reasonable man, we don't talk about the reasonable man in a keke, in a papa. We talk about the reasonable man being the man in the Clapham omnibus in London, England. That is how miseducated we are. And until we are re-educated, we who are present here are part of the danger to Africa. Because even in our unguarded moments, I went several years ago to the university at Harvard and talking to students, and one of them said that Harvard was the best school in law, in teaching of law. I said, whose law? Nigerian law? Ugandan law? Zimbabwean law? They can only be best in teaching their law, not ours. And I've seen we who are in this space of education. Somebody spends 6 years at Unilag, and when they go to Harvard or Stanford for 3 weeks for a short course where they spend most of the time taking tea, he comes back and says, an alumni of Harvard. So the time is now. The time is now to begin re-educating ourselves. The time is now to exorcise the ghost of low self-esteem. You know, Africa has many things. We have talked about our mineral resources. We've talked about our arable land. We have talked about many things, but from where I sit, the greatest African resource is the human resource. You know, Africa has been so wronged by other civilizations. We were the enablers of the first industrial revolution. When our ancestors were taken to work in the farms in Europe, we enabled that revolution. Right now, we are enabling the fourth industrial revolution and the fifth industrial revolution. That is why they have talent visas, because they are taking our talent. If it is not nurses, it is our IT gurus. If it is not our IT gurus, it is our engineers. And we are gleefully letting them away. I see our heads of state saying, we have signed a contract to take our workers to Saudi Arabia, modern day slavery. And you know, just this morning.
May we all settle down, please? Kindly settle down. We're about to kickstart the conference. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to welcome you all to the maiden edition of the PSJ National Conference on Social Justice, themed the role of civil society organization in transformational leadership and social justice. Before we head right into the program of events for today, I'd love to appreciate each and every one of us for making our time to be here this morning. You know, a lot of us came on time. I want to thank you all and for being patient with us for starting a little bit behind schedule. I would like to request that we all rise to sing the first stanza of the national anthem to officially kickstart and officially declare our conference open this morning, please. If you may, kindly stand up. Thank you. Informative, enlightening, and impactful, but most importantly, it promises to equip us with the tools we need in individually contributing our quota in ensuring that our world is a better place. Welcome. Kindly turn to the person seated next to you with a smile and say good morning. Be expectant for more. Thank you. Please be seated. Please be seated. The people at the back, if you may, please kindly be seated. Try to avoid any distractions, please. My name is Kanke Goti, and I'll be your anchor for this conference alongside
Biama Joseph Ayuba. Welcome and good morning. By the way, PSJ stands for the International Organization for Peace Building and Social Justice. And like my co-anchor said, it is time for us to play our role in making our world a better place to live in, and particularly Nigeria. Many individuals, fathers, and even organizations, as the theme today says, the role of civil society organizations. Many people have played their role in building Nigeria, in building Africa, and in building the world. So what will our role be? It is time for us to consider very key factors around our lives and our day-to-day endeavors, what we can do to contribute to building Nigeria. And that is what we're going to be discussing today. So welcome once again.
Thank you so much, Biama. At this point, I'd love to invite on stage a young man with an extraordinary talent for bringing words to life. Through a very creative and artistic rendition, he plays around with words. Kindly join me welcome Mr. Godwin Ogebe to give us a presentation, please. Thank you.
Good morning, all. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for the opportunity, sir. I'm grateful. Okay. I'm Godwin Ogebe, the voice of reasoning with words relevant in every season. I'm happy seeing a lot of people here this morning, and it's a joyful one for me. So, I'm a poet, I'm a spoken word artist, I'm a fashion designer, I'm a young man, I'm a businessman, I'm a Nigerian, I'm a man. Okay. The greatest resource a country has is not its natural resources, it's not gold, it's not petroleum, it's not agriculture, it's the gift of men. And until we realize that that is our greatest resource, we'll never get it right. Okay. So, I'm not here to show you the figures derived from the last survey, or to tell you that the recently carried out research held on so says. I'm not here to use a projector screen to display a flowchart but a few statements from an article or some essay. I'm not here to use persuasion and enticing words, like a sales rep convincing you to buy 12 cartons of perfume after a 2-minute chat in a hallway. I'm not here to market body spray because this is not a body odor problem. We are in the state of moral decay. Like relay runners, we've been passed the perfume baton time and time again. And we go shh, shh, shh. Silencing the speakings the nose is meant to hear to relate to the brain. So, there was once a time when men stopped acts of evil. Then they began to speak about it. Then they turned a blind eye towards it. And now they raise their phones, tap the camera icon, click record, save, and share. And all we do is like, react, or drop a comment. We've become like television sets with a broken antenna, going shh one to another, passing the silence from one generation to the other. So like a television set with a broken antenna going shh, we are instructed to shh, say no evil. All we hear is shh, so we hear no evil. Visions distorted, so we shh, see no evil. For darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. For this television set is the earth, and the broken antenna, the people. For darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. So the darker the men, the darker the earth. Listen. Back in September, a close family friend lost his brother, not to malaria or car crash, he was murdered. His warm blood was shed in cold blood. Hits and punches rained down on him until he drowned in its flood. When arrests were made, and men were identified from the video they made, 1, 2, 3, and more men said, we knew not his crime. We saw men dropping hits and bars at night time, and we dropped a few punch lines adding to the rhythm and rhyme. They knew not his crime. Yet, we are not hesitant to lend a helping hand to mother him in his prime. For darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. We have ourselves a world of human beings who have forgotten what being human means. We point an accusing finger to the government, forgetting that the government are a set of men who never truly understood what to govern meant. So social injustice isn't a problem with the system, but a problem with the men in the system. Broken men going around breaking men, unstructured men raising up structures, activists preaching core values that are not core in their lives, peace advocates so obsessed with order and unity that they sponsor organized crime, champions in Zion rebuilding the walls of Babylon. For darkness has covered the earth because gross darkness covers the people. So before you tell me what faith, tribe, region, nation, or organization you represent, you are first a man. You are first human. So you are a representative of humanity. Fix the man and you fix the system. Enlighten the man and you brighten the world. Mahatma Gandhi said, and I quote, the greatness of humanity is not in being human, but in being humane. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Godwin. So many lessons. And sadly, that's the reality of our nation and indeed Africa at the moment. But that's the reason why we're here. We're hoping to contribute to our quota and do better by us. I would like to inform us that we are live on Facebook at PSJ Nigeria, at PSJ is in capital letter. On Twitter, at PSJ Nigeria. And then on Instagram, at PSJ_NG. So you can follow us online and stream the live session. At this point, I'd like to invite on stage a man I personally consider a go-getter, a visionary leader, and someone that sincerely loves Nigeria and the Nigerian project. Join me as I welcome the Executive Director of the International Organization for Peace Building and Social Justice, Mr. Ishaya Inuwa-Durkwa, to properly welcome us and give us an in-depth introduction as our reason for being here today. Kindly welcome him with a round of applause, please.
I'm super excited that we are putting up this program, being the first, so we call it a maiden conference. And it will only grow bigger and better and brighter until Nigeria is changed. There is an insatiable desire in me and a passion that cannot be quenched. And that is hope that Nigeria will flourish, irrespective. Just fix the man and the nation is fixed. And we'll stop at nothing until we do that. Without much ado, I will read my script so that I don't keep us too long. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and distinguished dignitaries, welcome to the Transformative Conference on the Role of Civil Society Organizations in Leadership and Social Justice. We are honored to have His Grace, Bishop Benjamin Argak Kwashi, as our esteemed host. Khadijah Abdullahi-Iya as a distinguished speaker, and Professor Zacharys Anger Gundu as our keynote speaker. Special recognitions to the board members of PSJ, this organization, people I love dearly, to civil society organizations present, and all the esteemed guests gathered here today. Your presence enriches the discourse on the critical intersection of leadership, social justice, and the pivotal role of civil society organizations. Just to recognize the board members some more, we have Honorable Ibeshi Emmanuel seated here, one of the board members, and we have Major Abdallah Beiki Joseph, the treasurer of the board, and some are not here for justifiable reasons. Now, good morning and welcome to the inaugural conference of the International Organization for Peace Building and Social Justice. It is with great pleasure and a profound sense of purpose that I stand before you today as the Executive Director of this esteemed organization dedicated to the ideals of peace, justice, climate action, and positive societal transformation. Our conference theme, titled The Role of Civil Society Organizations in Transformational Leadership and Social Justice, reflect the core values that bind us together in our collective pursuit of a better nation. As we embark on this intellectual journey over the next few hours, we recognize the pivotal role that civil society organizations play in shaping the destiny of nations. Indeed, no society can rise above its full potential without the active and engaged collaborative participation of its civil society organizations. These organizations, including our own, are the heartbeat of progress, the conscience of the communities we serve, and the catalyst for change. It is through our combined efforts that we can foster transformational leadership, ensuring that those in position of power are committed to justice, equity, and the common good. The impact of our work extends beyond borders, transcending cultural and geographical boundaries, and influencing positive change on a global scale. As we engage in meaningful discussion, share insights, and learn from one another, Let us keep in mind the profound possibilities we bear. Let us be inspired by the knowledge that our actions, both individually and collectively, have the power to shape the course of history. This conference is not merely a gathering of minds, it is a platform for collaboration, innovation, and the forging of partnership that will propel our shared vision forward. I have words of hope. Now, amidst the challenges and despair that span through this nation, many of which all of us are aware, talk of security concerns, economic challenges, governance issues, power supply, roads and transport problems, water problems, healthcare challenges, and many more. We can even talk of youth unrest. And all of these challenges are attendant with us. And so we need hope. Addressing these challenges require comprehensive and coordinated efforts from the government, civil society organizations, and the private sector. It involves implementing effective policies, improving governance, investing in infrastructure, and fostering social cohesion. Let us cling to the unwavering strength that resides within the spirit of Nigeria. Our nation has faced trials, and the path ahead may seem daunting. But let us not forget the resilience that has defined us through the ages. Amidst the shadows of adversity, let hope be the light that guides our way. Hope is not merely a wishful thought. It is a force that resides within each one of us, capable of inspiring change and igniting the flames of progress. Though the road may be rugged, remember that every storm eventually gives way to a calm sky. In our collective determination lies the power to overcome the seemingly insurmountable. Let our unity be a source of strength, transcending differences and forming a bond that no adversity can break. As we navigate these challenges facing our beloved country, Nigeria, let us draw inspiration from the stories of triumph that echo throughout history. Our forebears faced trials with courage, and it is our turn to carry the torch forward. Let hope be the anchor that steadies our resolve, and let us fuel our actions as we work towards a brighter and more harmonious future. In the face of despair, let it typified by the Jackpot syndrome, let kindness and compassion be our response. Each act of love, no matter how small, ripples through the fabric of our society, stitching together the bonds that hold us as one people. It is in our collective humanity that we find the strength to rebuild, to heal, and to thrive. Together, hand in hand, let us forge a path of hope and renewal. As a shared destiny is a tapestry woven with the threads of perseverance, faith, and the unyielding belief that a better tomorrow is within our grasp. May hope be our guiding star, lighting the darkest corners and showing us the way forward. In unity, resilience, and hope, let us find the courage to face the challenges before us and to build a Nigeria that we can all be proud to call home. Now, in closing, let us invoke the spirit of unity and harmony as we delve into the critical conversations that lie ahead. May this conference be a beacon of inspiration, guiding us towards a future where transformational leadership and social justice are not just aspirations, but tangible realities. May this conference serve as a catalyst for the transformative change we seek. And thank you. And now let the conference continue. Thank you very much.
Indeed, let hope arise. Thank you so much, sir, for that great speech and presentation. So our conference is formally open. I'd love to welcome those that are just coming in. Thank you for accepting our invitation and creating time to be here this morning. It's such a delight to see all our beautiful and handsome faces. Welcome once again. At this moment, I'd love to invite on stage a man I consider a father to us all in Nigeria and indeed the world at large. I consider him a role model and an advocate for peace and social justice in our nation today. Media, please, if you may we have the video introduction of our guest, please.
The Most Reverend Dr. Benjamin Argak Kwashi was the Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Jos and Archbishop of the Ecclesiastical Province of Jos in the Church of Nigeria. He was ordained in 1982 and 10 years later became the Bishop of Jos. In January 2008, he was presented as the Bishop of Jos Province in the Church of Nigeria. His pastoral experience is wide and varied. He has worked in rural and urban churches as well as at a theological college. Kwashi has held many positions on boards and trusts, both within Nigeria and internationally. He is the International Board Chairman of Sharing of Ministries Abroad. In 2003, he was conferred with the National Honor of Officer of the Order of the Niger. Bishop Kwashi is engaged in mediation and peace building in the Middle Belt, a region that has been marked by ethnic and religious tensions. He is married to Gloria and they have 6 children. One of them is also a priest. They have 54 orphans living with them in Jos, northern Nigeria. Please, with a standing ovation, welcome Archbishop Benjamin Argak Kwashi.
Please sit down. That introduction makes me humble, and I want to thank the media team for packaging that. I'm ordinarily a shy person when it comes to personal introductions. I'm easily called Ben, and I prefer that way. Welcome, each one of you, to this first conference of all of us. We are all PSJ. Please clap for yourselves. But being the host, I must welcome specially our speakers who we carefully selected. And let me begin with Hajia Khadijah. I'm proud of her. She doesn't know. Because, once you are in politics, in a state where it's a little bit thick with people like, oh, yes, I'm challenged by height. Bring it down a bit. Thank you. Thank you. Say like Niger State. I mean, what else do you want? And for a woman to get up, we prayed. I prayed. Well, we'll continue to pray. And she's one of our speakers. For a woman, and those of you who are with me the day before, was it the day before yesterday? I spoke extensively about any community that wants to grow and succeed and become noted in the world. That community can easily be determined by the way it treats its women. If you treat your woman in a family, and you remember I told you the secret of raising children. If you love your wife desperately, and you love your wife recklessly, and you love her with everything, she will raise good children. Because she will transfer her love to the children. So for us to have Hajia Khadijah, I'm just waiting to hear what she will tell us, We're proud of you, ma'am. For Professor Gundu, we are glad. I don't think we've met closely, but I have followed some of your works, and so we also welcome you. We're going to listen to someone whose experience is so rich in helping us to arrange ourselves together as we motivate, we mobilize, and organize as civil societies in this country. Honorable Emmanuel Ibeshi, young man, went into politics and made waves from 1999 till today. Again, he has an insight to help young people to navigate I shouldn't say what I told him in public, but it's thick. The political terrain in Nigeria is thick. It's thick. You can come with great ideas. There are people who crush it down very easily. In fact, the political terrain in Nigeria has defied prayers. It's not prayers now that works with the politicians anymore. You face them squarely and cast out the demons directly before it works. So this is what we're going to have today in the next 2 hours. Now, the point is, we just don't want you to be motivated, way away from it. We want you to be motivated and mobilized so that we can organize. Because this nation, if there is any reason why we are unable to make a headway, is the lack of getting our civil societies organized into a powerful entity and move. And I'll just give you a few points. The first one is, because the majority of those who are here are young, listen carefully. The first thing you must do is begin to fight those amongst you who, when you are aggrieved, begin to destroy property. You are destroying your future. Destruction solves no problems. Burning down of houses or churches solves no problems. So the first thing we must begin to look at is how to build. Look, I am a Nigerian. I went to school when Nigeria took me over as a child. I went to St. Luke's here, primary school. Half of my class in Jos, those that are still alive, are people only to discover now that they're from Kano, from Jigawa, from Zaria. That's the Nigeria I grew up in. We all said the same Lord's Prayer. It was much after we have grown that I said, but we were all in the same class. I was a best man to a classmate of mine who's a Muslim. We went to the mosque. His children today, when they are wedding, if I'm around, I'm usually the chairman. I remember one of them in Kaduna was wedding, and I came with my clerical collar with my cross, and he said, Baba gaskiya da ka zo da babban riga da bazan yafe ba. Don na ga musu dukkan bishop baba na ne. That's the Nigeria we grew up in. I grew up in a Nigeria where my generation went for weekend in London. You don't need a visa. I was embarrassed in 1986 when I was asked to get a visa. Nigeria was a dignified nation. Where the school I went, my father doesn't even know the commandant, doesn't even know the road to military school. And yet I got admission. 4 of us from Jos went at the same time. I remember visiting my older cousin in ABU, and he gave me a ticket, and we queued. I was in military school. There was chicken, Fanta, and I like visiting him at weekends because you go and eat things. The university now is full of bucaterias. But the reason is very simple. When you develop a building mentality, then you are ready to reform. No reformer destroys. A reformer is always thinking of the betterment of the next person. But listen carefully. A reformer is not even thinking of himself. He's thinking of not even his children. He's thinking of the third generation. Begin to develop thinking. And I hear people stupidly say, I'm keeping it for my children. As long as you are alive, your children are okay. Why can't you think for your great-grandchildren? What Nigeria will they be in? Because right now, in Nigeria,
70% of Nigeria, out of the 200 million, 70%, no, sorry, I'm wrong, 80% are under 30. So those of us, I'll be 70 in a year and a half. So I'm among the abject minority in this country. If there is going to be a reform now, I am urging those who are 30 and below, forget about us, the elders. We've wasted your generation. We've wasted the resources that should build you up. You must be a thinker of the future. Think of your children right now at 30. Think of your grandchildren at 30 and begin to think of a Nigeria your grandchildren will be when you are 60. That's where reform begins. Reform begins when you talk to your neighbor. And you're not, one of the things that will not help you to reform is when you sit with people and in 5 minutes you have complained from president to governor. It's a waste of time. Everybody knows the problem already. A reformer is a problem solver. When I bought the land where I built the Bishop's Court, everybody told me how it is impossible to live there. It's in the bush. Nobody lives there. There's no road, actually. No light, nothing. I built it and stayed there in the bush. And the governor then was looking for me. Then they told him that's where I was. So when he came, there was no road. He now graded the road. The NEPA manager for the Northeast, we met where I was preaching in America. He came and he was looking for my house. He saw it, no light. He said, no. He brought a transformer in my name and put it there. He was going to put it in my house. I said, no, put it at the junction so that everybody can tap from it. Excuse me, in less than 20 years, they call that area now New Abuja. And I was just 40-something years old when I started this. Women used to come and cut down the trees. I fought, I stopped it. Right now, in the plot of land that covers the bishop's house, monkeys come there, birds come there. So you think way ahead. Because I was worried about the animals. I mean, they come and cut down my mangoes and all that. That's true. But that's what we need. We've got to start thinking. When you are building a house and there is no water flow when it rains, just be ready for a flood. And you will pay for it at that time. Why don't you think? So reformers are thinkers and problem solvers. They are not complainers. If you sit with two people and they are complaining, move away from there because they won't help you. They are like Tokumbo cars. Always in the workshop. We don't want to hear the problems of Nigeria. We know it. We're looking for those who will solve it. It used to be that if you are a good graduate, they sent you to teach in primary school. In fact, those of us who went to the school I went to, military school, Zaria, the best school in Nigeria, the very best. If you say your own is the best, that's your headache. But military school Zaria is the best. The Nigerian army used to employ second class, upper, and first class to teach us. We need quality teachers, not quality schools. We should begin to look at our educational system where when they teach children, their mind is interacting with the education that is valuable, and that is where creativity is made. When education, a teacher teaches who is a quality teacher, he allows children not to parrot, but to interact with the education and search and research so that there is inventiveness, there is creativity, and then there is production. The only reason we are consumers is because our teachers have taught laziness, and laziness can never be blessed by God. Nowhere is laziness blessed.
We're looking for reformers. I hope they are here. Are they here? And listen carefully. Reformation has no gender, which is why we're proud of Khadijah. It has no gender. A woman should be able to stand up and say, "No lie." A man, just as a man can. Until we reset our minds to reformation. And generally, reformers are people who are ready to lay down their lives and sacrifice for other people. Lay down your life and sacrifice for other people. In the last 7 years, I've gone back to teaching in primary and secondary school. Now I'm licensed. I now teach. Because that's where we should start. Those who reform must see people that they love and respect, teaching them at lower level. We must go back to the villages. It used to be that villages is where you go and get people who will build houses for you. Not anymore. You can send all the money to the villages. The 419s are there. The landowners and land grants are there. What is the reason? We have abandoned where we should be investing. And now they have become better dupes. Finally, on that point, if we are going to make any headway in reformation, we must agree that cheating, lying, and stealing are not part of us. And I'll tell you why. God does not bless sin, regardless of religion. If you steal, it's a curse. If you cheat, it's a curse. If you lie, it's a curse. But anytime there is an honest man anywhere, just wait and see how God will bless that place. God identifies with honesty. Look, England, as youths, we went to England. We thought it was something great. My father wanted me to study in Cambridge. I went there. So everybody's on bicycle. I was disappointed. I came back. I said, Baba, the beds are too small. The rooms are too small. In Nigeria, we have big rooms. We have space. So almost my education is at home. But there's something you cannot beat England for. No matter how mad you are as a Nigerian, when you go to England, your senses will be correct. Because of discipline and order. And you can trust proper Englishman, you can trust him. That's why our people, when they take all their money, they take it to England. Because Oibo man will give you. Honesty is always blessed. And an honest community will be blessed. Because an honest community is guided by discipline and order. We can do it. I've been there. They also go to the toilet like we do. So why can't we build our own London here? We can do it. Reformers are people who have chosen the path of honesty, of discipline, and of order. When we say discipline, don't think of you disciplining somebody else. Discipline yourself. This is not a political forum. But growing up as a kid, and up till today, I'm still PRP of Malam Aminu Kano. So I'm not one of those. My mentality is PRP. I know all of them. Gambosa, Waba, Bala, Usman, Balarabe, Musa. So these are the people I respect. These are the people I like. So they are my models. People who sacrifice for others. And in my lifetime, God has called me to this ministry. There's hardly any town or village in northern Nigeria that I've not served. If I mention them, you won't even know villages here. Up to Nupe land, I've been everywhere. God has helped me. So we must be willing to sacrifice and lay down. That is when we can say, now we are fighting justice. Because you cannot fight for justice with injustice in your pocket. You can't. Some newspaper man will say, Oga, we saw you, the money they gave you the other day, and your mouth will be shut. And yet, that is what all transformers do. All reformers, that's what they do. They fight for justice for everybody. The farmers that were massacred in their farms in Borno the other year, 80 farmers slaughtered at once. No civil society raised its voice. Nobody. I cried. Villages in Niger State, in Kebbi State, in Zamfara. Where are we? Where are the people? Must it always be a pastor preaching? Can't we generally wake up as human beings? Thank you, Godwin, for telling us our humanity. Remind, we are human beings. We should rise for fellow Nigerians. We should rise. The number of killings in Nigeria, listen, if you tabulate it, and we have, 90% of them are poor people in the villages. People who are not contesting any office, people who are not looking for ₦1 million, people who just want their daily bread and survive. They are the ones massacred. And no senior citizen, no, people have not said anything. School children abducted, NYSC abducted, and so-called we have leaders. The world should come to a halt. Only 6 people were killed in France, in Paris the other day. Heads of governments came all over. We're talking about a Nigeria where hundreds are killed, 200, 150, 50, 60. It's now installmentally, but when you tally it together, it's thousands of people killed. The other day, a friend of mine in the US, they were praying for the 3,000 that were killed because of 9/11. I joined them in the prayers. But when I was asked to speak, I said, let me put it to you in perspective. On the 11th of September, 2001, 3,000 people were killed in the US. It never happened again. On the 7th of September, the same 2001, 4 days before 9/11, 150 people were killed in Jos. And since that time to today, more than 30,000 people have been killed. In Plateau State alone, their names and home addresses are there. And it hasn't stopped. What kind of nation are we? This is why we are looking for reformers. People who will think differently to save lives from abortion, to save lives from self-destruction, drugs and all, to save lives from killers and murderers who come from outside of other nations to come and kill our own people. And our leaders do nothing. We must change. We must change. Every Nigerian human being is a Nigerian human being. We must protect lives. We are not destroyers. We are builders. At least that was the country that I grew up in. Even when I went to military school, that was what we were indoctrinated with. Good doctrine. We are builders. We are government property to serve Nigeria and serve humanity in Nigeria. We are protectors and servants of the land. And that doctrine has stayed with me even in ministry. People who stand for justice. Transformation is a natural product of reformers and seekers of justice. It's a natural product. Things begin to change. If we have transformed fathers here and mothers, take it from me, your children are going to do the same. Just look at the Gandhi family. All right? Just look at the Gandhi family. Look at the Bush family. Just see people who have stood. Look at the Martin Luther family, MLK. Even the daughters are fighters for justice because it flows. Children watch what parents do. Children have models. Like I've refused to change my political philosophy. I'm still a PRP because I fight for justice. I remember they told us, Malam used to say, Bazamu chizabe number, amazamu hana barayi chinzabe. So that's the philosophy. I have never won election. All the people I've supported, they never win, but we must make sure we stop thieves from winning. If we know you are not good, we will say it. Although as a pastor, I'm not allowed to say it publicly, but when people ask me, I say, Garamum bitanang, kakaboshitanang, mujetachang. Into, we must be people with philosophy of reform, of justice. Transformation will come, and it's over time. One of my heroes, both as a pastor and in politics, is William Wilberforce. For 43 years, he was fighting the slave trade. In the 43rd year, slave trade was abolished. 3 months later, he died. Listen carefully. When that bill was passed, a gentleman by the name of Henry Leake was a captain of the Royal Navy. And as soon as it was passed, he took his military ship and arrested several boats. One of the boats is called Mimidon. And he took the slaves to Freetown. There was one young boy in that boat who was being freed. As he was going out of the boat of his slave masters, the slave masters were now arrested and were chains. This slave boy slapped the captain of that ship and ran away. The name of that slave boy is Samuel Ajayi Crowther. The girl he was to marry later was also in that boat. Her name was Susan. Samuel became a committed Christian. Captain Henry Leake was interested in this courageous boy who was able to slap a white man. Took interest in him. Samuel excelled in Freetown. Right there in Freetown, he met Yoruba people, Fulani people, Hausa people, brought them together, and Igbos, and began to teach them how to read and write. And he translated the Bible into Yoruba, Igbos, up to Nupe. He did all of that way back there. The expedition team was beginning to come out, looking for how to do their industries and sell their wares. Crowther was in the boat in 1841. He came. When they found Crowther very, very useful. Meanwhile, he was a headmaster in Freetown. They now recommended him to go to school in England in 1842. At that time, no black man was considered fit to read theology because it was said the black man's brain was at best like a monkey's brain, unqualified to learn. Crowther sat exams and passed. But they were afraid to put his papers forward for ordination. So they took his papers to Cambridge, and the professors looked at it. Latin, Greek, Hebrew, including theology, cleared it. Their recommendation was, if this is not good enough for ordination, nobody is. He was ordained 1843 and released to Nigeria as a priest in the wilderness of Nigeria. This is the man who started all the schools that you know. The first printing press, CMS Grammar School. He started the agricultural unit in Lokoja. He went as far as Yola, came to Umaisha, traveled way back and was going to go to Kano when he died in 1890. This was way before Nigeria was formed. I'm talking about 1841 to 1890. Nigeria was formed 1914. A reformer, a man of social justice, and one who transformed. The foundation of this nation was laid by Crowther. He brought cassava, he brought plantain, he brought maize, he brought Irish potato. Just in case you don't know, I leave you with that transformer. I thank you.
No, I think we can do that better. One more round of applause for our father. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Trust me, young people, if we have fathers like this, speaking about their commitments and the things they did, and at this age, they're still pushing, I don't think we have an excuse. So I want every one of us as a young person to leave this place with a resolution on what you can begin to do to push for transformation in our dear nation. Thank you once again, Father. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you. Yes, you can do that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, all right. So at this moment, I'm going to bring up stage our very own keynote speaker for the conference today. He is someone that has truly been a blessing to our nation, Nigeria, and he's still making impact in his various spheres of influence. But I'll let the video introduction do justice to the introduction at this moment. So, media, can we have his video introduction?
Professor Zacharys Anger Gundu, born 11th March 1959. He was educated at the government secondary school Kuru between 1972 to 1976, after which he went to the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, where he was amongst the first sets to graduate with a degree in archaeology in 1980. He holds a Master's of Science degree in archaeology at the University of Ibadan and a PhD in archaeology also at the University of Ibadan. He was the secretary of Ushongo Local Government Council between 1991 to 1993. Professor Gundu also worked with the then National Oil and Chemical Marketing PLC, now Conlon, where he rose to the position of head training and learning between 1996 to 2002. He also worked as a senior program manager in Intergender, Jos, from 2003 to 2005. Professor Gundu also worked with the archaeology department at the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria from 2005. He headed the department between 2010 to 2013. He was a distinguished senior Fulbright scholar at the University of Texas at Austin from 2007 to 2008. He was on sabbatical at the Federal University Dusima in Katsina State between 2014 and 2015, and a visiting professor at the Police Academy, Wudil, in 2016 and 2017. He had also taught at the Benue State University 1994 to 1995. Professor Gundu is a social commentator and human resource consultant who until recently was a regular speaker at the Dubai Leadership Summit. His current research interests are the archaeology of the Middle Benue Valley, burial practices across cultures, historical archaeology, African indigenous knowledge systems, archaeology ethics, looting and subsistence digging. He was at one time a president of the Archaeological Association of Nigeria and a vice president of the Pan-African Archaeological Association. He is a fellow of the Institute of Management Consultants, a fellow of the Archaeological Association of Nigeria, a fellow of the Association of Philosophy Professionals of Nigeria, a one-time council member, World Archaeological Congress, member, World Archaeological Congress Committee on Ethics, and member, Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. Professor Gundu was the Pro-Chancellor and Chair of the Council of the Benue State University until August 2021, when he resigned to take up his current appointment as Vice-Chancellor, University of Nka in Benue State. He is married to Lucy Ngweshima Gundu, and the marriage is blessed with 5 children. Please make welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Zacharys Anger Gundu.
Please sit down. You know, the people introducing, sometimes they can cause a lot of confusion and damage. I just hope I will not disappoint all of you with my confusion and what I'm going to say. I'm privileged to stand before you, and I thank all of you, distinguished people. I thank the bishop. Our small paths, my small path has crossed his big path, but I think he just forgot. When I was with Intergender in Jos, we met a couple of times. We thank Khadijah, Emmanuel, and Major, and all of you. I really thank you. I'm going to share some slides with you, and I'm hoping that the organizers would share these slides with you, because I'm going to speak to them, and when you have them, I will urge you to look very closely at them, each and every one of them, and think through the messages which these slides may have for you. But before we start, I want to say a few things that I want all of you to get out here with. Even if you don't look at the slides, even if you don't want to look at them. The first thing I want to say is that even though all of us may be different, and we are different. Some of us are challenged by height, as the bishop said. Some people like Dukwa are giants, they are tall. Some of us are ugly, some of you are very beautiful people. Some are big, some are small. So we are different, but we are not separate from each other. We are different, but we are not separate from each other. Because we are not separate from each other, what happens to me would affect you. What happens to you will affect me, no matter how you look at it. And for those of you who have studied even elementary biology, you will know that all living things depend on each other. All living things, without exception, depend on each other. The plants you see, by the time you cut all of them on earth, all of us will die. Because the oxygen we use to breathe comes from plants. through the process of photosynthesis. So we just have to understand that all of us are the same. The second thing I want us to understand very, very clearly, and if the organizers knew, they would have just stopped at the level the bishop spoke, because we are just going to repeat some of the things he said so eloquently. What we know as humanity, my discipline is archaeology, so just pardon me if I keep on trying to give you some information that comes from archaeology. What we know as humanity is actually traceable to the cognitive revolution about 70,000 years ago. That is when human beings could think, could communicate in the type of language we are speaking here, and could create things. The cognitive revolution was heightened by the time human beings learned how to produce food. Prior to this, we were just hunters and gatherers. And during hunting and gathering, there was no reason to amass a lot of food, to amass surplus. No person lived on the surplus of others. Every person had to find a way of contributing to the tea by gathering food, by scavenging for food. But when food production started, other human beings attempted a very, very creative thing. And what they attempted is actually the source of the inequalities we have today. They decided that they will not produce food, but they will live on the surplus. These are the politicians. These are the military people, paramilitary people. These are and I'm sorry to refer to the bishop like this, it may sound harsh, but these are also the religious entrepreneurs. The people who decided, for whatever reasons, to stand in the gap between other human beings who were producing food and God. They are also philosophers, educated people, the elites, the bureaucracy, who for whatever reasons decided that other people should be producing food. They will be monitoring who was paying taxes with the food and who could go and do jobs for the king. This group of dependents conspired, and they also created, and I'm sorry, because I'm going to be controversial, but the bishop doesn't fear controversy. They created gods. They created gods. And then, because they wanted every other single person on earth to be organized in a way that will benefit only them, they stood in the gap between the other people who were producing food and the gods. And they blamed every single thing which they did wrong on the gods and exonerated themselves and got every single one of us to be blaming the God person for everything we have. That is why for most people, when they see problems, they are talking about prayer. They are talking about fasting. And the thing is not working. But they are still talking about prayer. They are still talking about fasting. I wish it were possible to try to discuss this in detail so that we can begin to see what has really happened when the rain started beating us. All these issues about social justice, they are rooted in that. The initial codes, and those who have studied the history of religion would know that even before the Ten Commandments, there were other codes by Hammurabi, Unamu, which attempted to regulate people's thinking and which blamed virtually every single thing on others except the leaders and those who had conspired. Ladies and gentlemen, even if you don't get out of this place with anything, think about this and think about the fact that the key to the inequalities we see, the key to some of the challenges we have, lies in the fact that we have decided that other people should think for us. I will say this again. As long as we, Nigerians and Africans, as long as you and I decide that other people should think for us, they will shortchange us. And coming from somebody who is in charge of running a university, sometimes I feel ashamed of myself that in the Nigerian school system, we are not teaching people and our students to think. We are scuttling thinking. In the home, we don't want our children to think. In the churches, I'm not Anglican, I'm NKST. NKST is the Deep Protestant Church. And I quarrel with them. I'm running a university which is their university. And sometimes people ask me, how did these people get you to come around this university? And I say that where is God's own making? The church scatters thinking. And as long as we don't think, it's not going to work. People think that, they have already thought for us, the Europeans. You were talking about the UK. The people decided that it must be order that would push them forward. It was a conscious thought process. In Nigeria, nothing seems to be working, and we are not thinking. But that is just thinking. Thinking is one of the keys. The other is imagination. If we ever allow people to imagine for us, it's not going to work for us is going to work for them because they will imagine how they will manipulate you. They will imagine how they will manipulate you and I. And then it works for them, it doesn't work for us. And to God, we have been manipulated in this country. To God, we have been manipulated in Africa. To God, we have been manipulated in our families. How else can we not value life? The bishop has talked of killings on the plateau. It has happened in Benue, happens in Niger, it happens in Zamfara, it happens in the northeast, it's happening everywhere. And I'm sure all of you know, if you have been reading, there's a nexus between the violence in these places and mineral resources in these places. There is a nexus. The people who want to plunder these mineral resources go into the bush and into the rural areas. They manipulate every other person. While we are fighting and killing each other, they are taking these mineral resources outside this country, and we are not benefiting. And you and I are here fighting each other. The politicians, I don't know whether they are here, they also know how to manipulate us. They talk about religion. They talk about ethnicity. They talk about every other thing that can separate us. But it doesn't occur to us that if Dangote sits on the table with Michael Adenuga, if he sits on the table with Boa, if he sits on the table with Odetola, it is profits that they will be talking about. It is not religion they will be talking about. And once they are talking about profits, they can mess you and I up. But it is not just about imagination, it's about creativity. It's about creativity. There are no people in the world who are not endowed with the intellect to create. Our forefathers created the foods that fed us. Today, those of you who have children know that they discard and denigrate the foods which our forefathers ate. The medicines which our forefathers used, the herbs, to treat themselves, they discard and denigrate them. And they do it so ignorantly to the extent that they don't know the white people are coming into the African forests and botanical gardens to get these herbs, take them back, turn them into drugs, bring them back. We're here talking about people who are witch doctors. And the basis of whatever medical practice our forefathers had was these herbs. Of course, you and I know that our people were also deeply religious, and they knew how to connect with the divine. But now we have discarded our traditional religious beliefs. I'm coming into conflict with the bishop now, and I'm aware of it. Truth of the matter is that every people know how to connect with the divine. Okay, maybe another connection is slightly more effective than another. But there's no way you can throw away the original connection and take any other thing outside that original connection 100% and be useful to yourself. That's just the truth of the matter. There is no way. No person who wants to succeed survives that way. Even in the Bible, even in the Quran, there's allowance. By the time Christ came, there was allowance to accommodate the law and the prophets. By the time Christianity went to Europe, they brought in some other local ingredients and added to us. Now we are here in this country. And what we have is not working for us. What we have in Islam is also not working for us. I just hope they will not cut my head. Because if we really appreciate the fact that we are different and we are not separate, we will make allowance for people to worship the way they really would want to worship. We must make allowance for that. Because we are talking about a country that is as divided as Nigeria, which is rich in diversity. I want to say this, and I don't know, I've given you the slides, I have. I could go over them maybe in 5 minutes, but I want to say the last thing. This country is bleeding. Africa is bleeding. It is left for us to checkmate this bleeding. And if we don't do it today, it will be more difficult to do it tomorrow. Let me just give you an example. In the year about 2030 or so, Nigeria is going to be the 6th most populous country in the world. This is not a prophecy. This is something that is going to happen. So I'm not a religious person trying to prophesy. It's going to happen. Our population would be the 6th in the world in terms of countries. At that point in time, and even before that point in time, Muslims in this country will be about 65% of the total population of this country. Listen very well. I'm not frightening you. It's what is going to happen. This 65% of people, most of them are going to be young people like you and I. In the north of this country, it has the largest population of out of school children. Largest population. They are not going to school. But political Islam is rising in the world. And I think you know what political Islam is. Me, I know because I stayed in Zaria. I'm still a staff of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. If these people are not going to school, other people are going to manipulate them, and there will be chaos in this country. There will be chaos in this country. I'm not frightening you. I'm not prophesying. I'm only telling you what is going to happen. When that chaos comes, for those of you who are related to these rich people, tell them they will not be served. They will not be served. They will be as threatened as you and I. Their riches will be threatened as you and I. And we will be in trouble. Anyway, am I going to speak to the slides? No. This is okay. I will invite you to pick a copy of the slides. I have sent it to them. I'm sure you have emails. And because you have emails, they are going to send the slides to you. This country is bleeding. Our families are bleeding. Our religious communities are bleeding. Africa is bleeding. But in Africa, we also had transformational leaders. We did have them. That's the only way you can describe a Thomas Sankara. That's the only way you can describe Murtala Muhammad. That's the only way you can describe Patrice Lumumba. And even the one they killed in Tripoli, Libya, Gaddafi. Transformational leaderships are a threat in Africa to the world. Without exception, the West killed all of them. Without exception, the West killed all of them. So if you sit down here and think this country is going to be transformed without you being ready to shed your blood, you must be a joker.
You can do better, please. Thank you very much. At this point, I would love to state that we're very much aware of the presence of some dignitaries and special guests in our midst. Shortly, a proper introduction and recognition will be done, please. Kindly permit us. Next, I'd like to invite on stage a woman I term a trailblazer, and one who dares to stand in the midst of opposition, distraction, and what you will say, people just being complacent. This is a woman most women I can vouch, look up to. She has done so much for the women in Nigeria, and especially in the north. Media, please, if you may, can we kindly have the video introduction of our next guest, please?
Khadijah worries about our depraved social. 11th March 1959. He was educated at the government secondary school Koro between 1972 to 19. Khadijah worries about our depraved social systems, which led to founding a group of social enterprises to foster the SDG goals of sustainable communities. Khadijah was the first female gubernatorial candidate in Niger State in 2023. She was also nominated for the vice presidential candidate in 2019 for Alliance for New Nigeria, ANN. She is a trained public policy and governance specialist from the SPPG. Khadijah is a global citizen with multiple awards in innovation and other social impact series, including Award for Global Excellence in Mentorship and Community Development from Leaders Without Borders Development Center, London, May 2023. A finalist in the Global Women of Stature Awards in the category of Women in Mentorship and Coaching, organized by Hadirat Global in Dubai, May 2022. She was also nominated for the Prize of Peace Awards in the category of Creative Non-Violence in December December 2021. Nominated for the Prize of Peace Award in category of Sustainable Communities from the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights 2022, to mention a few. Khadijah is an ideation specialist, a serial social entrepreneur, lawyer, author, publisher, mentor, and most importantly, Khadijah is a mother and a social change actor, passionate about her community and doing something about it. Khadijah's values are humanity, empathy, responsibility, and service. Her objectives and belief is to keep finding innovative, creative ways to add value to community, advocating for literacy through fun learning from the cradle, which earned her an award for excellence for promoting quality education in Nigeria from the Civil Society Action Coalition on Education for All. Her life's goal is to chat, after which he went to the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, where he was amongst the first sets to graduate with a degree.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, my new father, Bishop. Good morning, Yaya, Reverend Ishaya. Good morning, sir, our keynote speaker, Mr. Emmanuel, our board, all the great human beings that I'm seeing. Good morning, my children. How are you? I hope you slept well. I will say something again. I said something yesterday. There's when I was doing my slide, I said something about Jos. There's something about Jos that gives me so much joy that I connect with. Yesterday, I was telling somebody in the night that I think I need to rethink that vow that I had a few years ago to come and get a land in Jos and build. Just people, honestly, you people are lovely, lovely, hospitable people. And I'm grateful for the opportunity I have for bringing me here to be before great people like you. I am grateful for all the love that you have shown. Thank you. I feel it and I take it. I'm grateful. So before I go to my slides, I'd like to just speak a little bit about the slide. And what I do basically is I ask a lot of questions. And that was why searching inward started. I ask, when things happen, I ask. And I told the team yesterday about, I told them that we need to have a lot of social experiments to dissect and analyze the reasons why we're having people who are bandits and all of that. So my role today is to speak to motherhood to nationhood. That is what I want to talk about. But the whole concept of motherhood to nationhood started with that thinking process that asked questions about who our leaders are. Why do we have leaders who are taking from us instead of serving us? Why do we have leaders who are stealing and looting from the coffers, who are so greedy, and I say it quickly, who are so greedy that it is sickening. And I think that there's a mental element to that stealing. I think that when leaders are coming to the table, we should ask them to have psychometric tests to gauge that. No, it's the truth. to gauge their mental abilities, if they are okay, because I do not see why I should be stealing money for the child that I don't even know if he's going to come or not. So the whole concept of motherhood to nation would ask the question, who are their mothers? I mean, we had leaders like Azikiwe, we had leaders like Sadauna, we had leaders like Tafa Abalewa. Who are their mothers? Now we are sitting down, we have leaders like Bishop Kwashi. Who is his mother? We have leaders like Reverend Ishaya and all the great people sitting down here. Who are their mothers? We need to begin to ask these questions. And that is my role today, to see how we can look at this, ask these questions and say, who are the mothers of those great people who have left great legacies for us? And who are the mothers of those people who are stealing from us? What are they doing when their children are stealing? What do they do? How do they just sit down and say, okay, I know a lot of people speak Hausa. Oh, and that's it. Where did you get it from? Because these are the things I was raised with as a mother. So please, the next slide. So I'll start with there was something I needed to do. Sorry, please, I seek your permission. How many people were in the class yesterday? So what we normally do in our organization is that when we had classes yesterday, the next day we take, who can volunteer, 2 people, just one female and one male, can give us a summary of what they learned personally yesterday. Just 1 minute, one minute. Who can volunteer? I know you would. So, yeah, stand up. And then I need a female that can volunteer to say what they learned, what was their take home yesterday. That way we were able to gauge ourselves and hold ourselves accountable if the messages were not properly passed. Oh yeah, thank you. So let's start with the female. Sorry.
Good morning, everyone. It was a great pleasure having Hajia Khadijah yesterday. We learned a lot. We learned how to be good mothers. We learned it, and we are looking forward to put it to life. Because non-married ladies are there and married ladies are there. We have learned that building a home starts from both the parents. We had a debate, and actually the ones blaming the dad took the win. But we are to believe that the society and the parents really needs to put effort in raising a child and raising a good community. So I feel like the whole responsibility of having a good nation depends on us. The change starts from us, and it will go further, and we shall put it to practice, inshallah. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice having you yesterday, Ma. And one of the things that after the lectures we had from you that has been going through my head is a just community and a just society, as you said. One thing is for certain, the thing that I took home is if we want to have a transformation or a reformation, it shouldn't be only on us. I have a siblings, a brothers and a sisters, and the change shouldn't be only on them. If I see other person that is not from my family or not from my tribe or region doing something bad, and I do not stop him just because of diversity, then I'm not ready for transformation. But stopping everyone from each diversity, from each religion, from each tribe, stopping them from whatever they are doing is what will change or transform a community or a nation so that we have a just society or a just community. That's the biggest take home I took yesterday.
Thank you very much. Those were wonderful feedbacks. Thank you so much. I appreciate. And before I also start, there was a question yesterday that was asked that how do we now begin to raise the mothers of the nation? I'm just couching it in that. How do we begin to raise the mothers of the nation that will in turn raise nation builders? So our title is Motherhood to Nationhood, Critical Process Strategies of How Women Raise Nation Builders. And it's very simple. It's not one long torrential or grammar. It's very simple. I'm just going to share the experiences I've had as a mother I've been married for 30 years, and how I want to transfer that knowledge to the mothers, and how the youth who become nation builders, and I see that there are lots of you here, who become nation builders can also fuse their hands with the woman, the spouse in their lives to raise a better nation. So thank you. So introduction, please the next slide. Women are the backbone of families and communities. They provide care, support, and nurturing of their families and are essential to the development of children. Women also play a significant role in community building and often take on leadership roles in community organizations. This was said by Aisha Fawad on an article she wrote, Importance of Women. So for us not to waste time, because I was given just 30 minutes and there are 22 slides, I've already started the question of who are the mothers of those people who are stealing, and what are we supposed to do about that? So the next question is, where are the mothers? And I've already asked that where are the mothers when the people are stealing from us? Where are the mothers when they do that? Where are the mothers when, what do the mothers tell them when they come to steal from us? Where were they when these people make the wrong decisions? When there are decisions, serious decisions to be made, where are the mothers? What do they say to them? Or do they even consult their mothers at all? Or is there a structure? We all know we cannot run away from one basic fact. Society starts from family. And once the families individually are good, it cascades to the society. So we need to ask this salient deep questions. And who are, okay, I said that before, who are the mothers of stake? What stood these mothers out? How did their mother mold their children to greatness so much that they understood the personal responsibilities and did their best to steer the ship of their mandates? All of these things are things we are going to talk about. Now, the processes, the questions are the processes of how to raise the nation builders we want for our children. Because what the bishop said earlier on was, we need to have thinkers. Everybody needs to see that. You may not have the gift of being a thinker. I know one of the things I do very well is I muse. I muse a lot and I think a lot. And sometimes I overthink that I break down. So the thing is, we need to ask these deep questions individually. We have a room full of people, and I hope that we sow these seeds in each and every one of you to think about not your children, not your grandchildren, but the third generation of your life. What the kind of Nigeria that we want them to live in. What are the ingredients we need to inculcate in each of them? So who is a nation builder? Who is a nation builder? Can somebody answer that? Take it there, you need to. Don't take it. Who is a nation builder? Can somebody tell me? Can somebody answer that question? Who is a nation builder? Okay, I have a. Who is taking the speaker? Sorry, my class is always very interactive. I don't think I know it also. I always like to learn from everybody. Where's the speaker? Please, can you get the speaker to come?
In simple terms, a nation builder is someone who works not for his own personal interest, but for the interest of the entire nation. And all he does is sacrifice all his resources, his wisdom, and entirety to the interest of the nation.
Good morning all. My name is Mustafa Al-Mustafa. I'm a student of political science from the University of Jos. A nation builder is a visionary leader who put collective interest and prosperity before personal and parochial interest for the benefit of the nation as a whole.
Beautiful responses from both of you. Please start yourself and come back. Well done. So a nation builder, you see that the definition of the nation builder here will have elements of the things that you said. A nation builder demonstrates an eagerness, just like you can see in the bishop and all the speakers today. An eagerness and willingness to help others. Shows a curiosity for learning, because you cannot be a nation builder without finding continuous learning is a strategy. If you want to be a nation builder, you need to learn all the time, especially about each of our own First Nation. How many of you have gone back into history and learned about Nigeria? The Nigeria we are fighting. You cannot be a nation builder without going back into history to establish where we are coming from, for us to know where we are going. Because if we do not know where we are coming from, how did all these issues start? If we do not ask those questions, we are never going to go far. So, a nation builder learns about their First Nations, culture and language, expresses, demonstrates a desire to continue learning, have a healthy lifestyle, shares his or her love of learning with others, just like we saw our fathers did today. All of them did that, showed all that elements today. One thing I have to pause and emphasize is a nation builder knows what learns about their culture and languages. You cannot be a nation builder and you don't imbibe and you're proud of your heritage. You will not be able to fuse, you will not be able to connect. If you want to, if you are truly a nation builder, you are proud of where you're coming from. You know you can speak your language. If you don't know how to speak your language, please go and learn your language again. It's very, very important. A lot of people think that, speaking your language is bush. Nobody in this world can speak your language for you. It is only you that. And the mistake we make mostly is that we think that it is backwardness that makes us speak our language. So the Nupe people in Kaduna State are shy to speak their language. They are speaking English to them. Some of them, I'm sorry to say, I do not mean to be condescending. They don't even know how to speak the English. And you are teaching, yes, I'm sorry, you are teaching, and the Hausa people, every tribe in Nigeria, we have elements of those people. You are speaking an English that is not even correct with these children. Let them learn the English in school. You can help them out in their academics and all of that. But that learning your language is very important. It helps you to be proud of you and where you come from. According to Wikipedia, however, nation builder aims, this one I'm reading this out because this one I'm going to talk about it later on. Nation building aims at the unification of the people within the state so that it remains politically stable and viable in the long run. The role of the mother in raising a nation builder is entrenched in the way she raised the child from the womb to adulthood. So from the time that the mother conceives the child, you have started thinking about what that child would begin. And this is very important. I need you people to get this. We started having children at 20 years. So we didn't have all of this thinking at that time. You start thinking, most times the mistake mothers make is that, and our mothers made that, they've made over time, and which has produced people that we have, the kinds of people that are leading us, is that you're thinking of yourself only. You're not thinking that that child is not for you alone. That child is a contributor of society. As you conceive that child, start thinking of what contribution that child is going to make to your community and to the extended community and to the global world. I remember that there was this story I read in Obama's book that he was saying that his mother woke him up at 4 a.m. when he was like 4 to 5, 6 years old. She wakes him up to talk to him about his academics. She grooms and nurtures. She took the pain. So if mothers who are nation builders should start thinking about that. The basic ingredients, that's what is nation building too. She knows that he needs some basic ingredients, which we will talk about that. Let's rush that. So from birth to cradle, from the cradle, the child is given special care. So I was learned, my auntie, whenever I'm going to give birth, my auntie comes from Kaduna to come and take care of my children. That's from those early stages that I would not be strong enough. So when I had my first child, whenever the baby is crying, I'll just turn my back because she's there. I'll turn my back and say, take care of the child. She told me one day, she said, I've noticed that you have been doing this for a while now. And the child that you do not show care for at the cradle, when they grow up, they will not have empathy for you. They will not care about you. So no matter how hard it is for you, for those who do not understand that they will not have empathy for you. So what you need to do when the child is crying, no matter how tired and sick you are, you need to still raise up. You need to go through the process, that pain. That is when you value the child. I was taught that, and I am hoping that you guys, and even the fathers, can help the wife and the wives to help nurture that child at that cradle. The art of bathing and feeding the child. We now have this system that says that children should be taken to the crèche. Children should be taken care of by house helps and house girls or whoever. I'm not saying, I know that the world is very difficult, especially for mothers who are going to school now. And I went to school while I was having my children. I had all my children in school, even the master's level. I was pregnant when I was coming to University of Jos. Yes, I was traveling from Abuja, come to stay in Lagos. But you must find that time to bathe your child. You know that in Nupe land, there's a way we are known for the way we bath our babies. As you are bathing each joint of the baby, you are inserting your love in each joint of the child by making sure that that joint is strong enough. Do you understand? Giving them the hot water they need, giving them that special care, every joint of that child. Bathing is special. It's the special bonding moment to mother. Nobody baths my baby, aside from those few early days that my aunties bathed them. Nobody else bathes my babies throughout till they are 18 months. Because I do not want to lose that bonding moment that I have with them. When I have my children, when they are going to school, I love to dress them up myself. I'll dress them up and I'll go and stay in the window and be watching them when they are going to school. That gives me a lot of joy. I remember every moment of those things. You people should not lose those moments. Cradle to spirituality. Another thing, as a Christian, whatever faith, I was a Muslim, whatever faith you are, teach your child the way you know God. That is how you raise nation builders. Teach the child how you know God. I sent my children to Islamiyas, but I did not leave the learning of Islam to the Malams. Every morning, before they go to school, I sit them down, bring out the book, stories of the prophets. Every prophet, I sit them down and we read. And I ask each one of them, the ones that could read, to read it. Read the Hadith, read the Bulugh al-Maram, read the Fazail Amal. That is how, and then we explain it to each other. I learn from them, they learn from me. Teach them your spirituality. Let them know God and own God. That is our primary responsibility for the mother and for the father. Empathy. You must teach your child empathy. Children, especially in this time, I will speak, I'll say again, Ya Rabba, so that I'll say these days. You need to teach, if you want to be a contributor to building the nation, the reason why a lot of, I'm sorry to say, the charlatan politicians we have is because they do not care. If they care about what is happening, the killings that the bishop mentioned. If they care enough, they will not be doing the things that they are doing. They will know that when they do not take care, like somebody that we learned, was it last year, that had to go to America to go and look for a donation of something in his body. If they have taken care when he was in office, if he had done the best thing for our healthcare system, he didn't have to go to London. Now he's in prison. But if you know, and you must care, and then you must also have foresight. If you don't think, how do those people even get into governance in the first place? We are all responsible for these things. So, a child to be empathetic is the key grooming element that the parents must do. It is not in telling the child to be empathetic to the next person. It's in acting it. How the father becomes empathetic to the wife. How the wife becomes empathetic to the husband. How you show kindness to one another. You are telling the child more than... I was talking to one of my August today, my new August, Mr. Emmanuel yesterday. He was telling me that there is no way that divorce can happen in his lineage because they didn't see anybody divorced. They had issues, but they found a way to resolve that. Kindness to one another, it destroys the element of divorce. How the family treats the house girl in the house or whoever is working, the domestic staff. You must teach the child to respect them. These tiny little things we take for granted. You cannot raise a nation builders without teaching these little things. And this particular process is very important. Okay, we've talked. So what we are saying about empathy is for you to teach compassion, because we need compassionate leadership in Nigeria. It is only when our leadership is compassionate, that's when they can now start finding out how many people are dying and why are they dying, who is killing them. The journey and the process, honesty, you must teach honesty. You don't tell the child that, oh, I am going to, tell the visitor that came in that I am not around. Are you teaching the child honesty? You are in the room or you told your child to go and tell the person outside that I am not around. It's as simple as that. You have taught him to be dishonest. Or you are in the car with the child and you are telling somebody on the phone that, oh, I will soon be with you in 5 minutes. Honesty must be in you, embedded in you. You must be an honest person for you to give honesty to another person. So you must teach the child by modeling honesty to be an honest person. Education. I must read through this one. Preparing the child for the future through education is a critical programming that parents, especially mothers, must ensure that the child has, in order for the child to find the purpose of his life. He must be academically sound. When mothers remind their children on the importance of education and where that education can take them to, the child will be self-motivated and utilize his or her time effectively without anyone hounding the child. Honestly, a lot of women say that they run home to go and teach their children how to go and do homeworks for their children. I must confess, I hardly do that. At some point in my children know that they must do their homework. I don't have to follow up because you have taught them the importance of education. My 15-year-old child called me a few days ago and told me that, Mommy, I want to read this. I want to study this. I want to make sure that this, she's in SS2. She said, I want to do WIAC now, a test WIAC, so that when I'm doing my last WIAC, I will do it better. I want to have a feel of what it is. Because she already understands the importance. I've never chosen what my children should do. I've never done that. Because already when you teach them the importance of education and what they need to do with that education, they will just run with it. It is that easy. You make your life easy by building the structures that you want to see in the future in your children. Another thing is inculcating leadership skills in children by parents is more effective than anyone will teach them. When parents embody all the foregoing, that's all the things that we've said before, and are able to stand out in their shepherding of themselves, that's the parent must shepherd themselves, they are able to shepherd the child. Equipping the child with the leadership skills through frequent practical experiences engineered by how they treat one another. You want to be a mother, you know your responsibility as a mother. You don't drop the ball. As a father, you don't drop the ball. That is leadership from the cradle. You teach the child how to be responsible for himself. But you have to be responsible for them. What you're supposed to do for them, you must do it for you to even preach any leadership to them. So another part that I need to, they will make mistakes. All these things that I've said, they will make mistakes. We all did. We made mistakes too. But we learned from the mistakes. And don't use that mistakes they've learned to hound them or degrade them or make them feel bad about them. Have a conversation with them and say that, okay, these mistakes you've made now, how are you going to, what have you learned from it, number one? What are you going to do better? Having those very salient conversations are very important. And that helps them when they are going to do another mistake, they will be very careful. Self-sufficiency, this is very important. Most people think that there are chores for a man and there are chores for women. Most times parents, especially mothers, we do that. Do not understand that as the child grows up and do the chores, the child becomes more self-sufficient. You share the child, you share the day that when you say Fatima should cook today, tomorrow you tell Abubakar to cook too. Because one day he's not going to be around. And before he gets a wife, and stop teaching your child that, I'm sorry I may be controversial here, stop teaching your child that the only reason why you marry is for a woman to come and cook for you. That's what that's one culture I do not agree with. Maybe in the beginning I was about, now with the knowledge and the development, the experiences I've had, I've seen that men need that skill to cook. And when you understand the process of cooking, when your wife brings food for you, you respect her. You respect her. And I am not saying that it is wrong for women not to cook. I still cook for my husband. No. So don't say you are not going to cook for your husband. Please cook for your husband. It's one act of love that also the children are looking at you for. So, but do not make it like compulsory. If the wife does not cook, that's a problem. It's not a problem. Women cook out of love. And for each meal they cook it with love, and that's why you enjoy the food. I must pause and emphasize here, the way our own parents raised our brothers is not the way our brothers and our uncles are raising their boys now. Do we agree with that? Because now, the young men will sit down, even to change the light bulbs, they don't know how to change it. Is it not true? They are sitting down watching Nintendo, what all the games that they have. They do not even know how to do the basic things. If a boy child that grows up without knowing how to cook or even change electric bulbs, what use is that child to himself and to society? He is a liability to himself. How can he be of value to his family or the entire world? You must take the pain. This is to the men now. How much have you inculcated the values your fathers and your mothers have taught you in your boy children? This year we had the year of the boy child in our organization called the year, our organization, Women Community in Africa. We felt that the boy children also needs a voice, and we did a whole lot of programs for them. Self-discipline. Yesterday over breakfast, the topic of self-discipline cropped up. I was having breakfast with my Oga, Mr. Machif Malo, and then the conversation we had was about fasting. So a lot of people think that if you tell your children to fast at the age of 4 or 5 is an abuse. I'll tell you today that it is not an abuse. You are training the child to be disciplined. I have gone and I did my own research. I have gone around and I found out that the families that inculcated the art of fasting in the children from early age, most of those families, I wouldn't say 100%, but I will tell you is about 89% of those children that fasted when they were children, they don't take drugs. Even if they are surrounded by people who take drugs, they don't take drugs. You are teaching the child the art of self-discipline, of when he wants to eat and he knows that he's bounded by a creed that is bigger than him, and he does not eat. You are teaching the woman that even when sexual things are happening, you don't have to be a prostitute. You are teaching the child how a girl not to have sex anyhow. That is what fasting does to the child. If you are raising a nation builder, you must try and teach the child how to learn how to fast from childhood. That way he grows up with it. Reminders. I'm going to almost the last, because you feel you have done all the above. You feel that will guarantee them being the kinds of people you want to see. No. You have to keep reminding them of these things that we have talked about. You have to keep shepherding them.
So my notion of a successful parenting is when you raise a child who understands the deepest sense of responsibility and purpose.
And making himself or herself useful for the growth and development of society. That way you have raised a nation builder. You don't have to do much when you effectively sowed these seeds in these children. The children will fly into what God has originally created them to be. And watch how that nation builder builds the community. In conclusion, before I close, I need to re-emphasize the key words on the slide 6, which I said I was going to talk about, where it says that nation building aims at unification of the people within the state. We cannot raise nation builders where we sow seeds of discord amongst them. We must be deliberate about the kinds of information and conversation we pass to our children. For example, my daughter came to me and told me that, oh, I heard that
Islam is a terrorist religion. These are the things that other children are telling her. Because these other children were fed from their mothers and their fathers that the child should not play with a Muslim child. What are you doing to that child? What are you doing to that child? When we keep talking about these things, telling people, the person who came to do the spoken artist, the first thing I see in one person is humanity, is a human being. What connects me and him or her is greater, far greater than what divides me and that person. We may have just ethnicity and religion as something that divides us, but you and I go to bed and we sleep, don't I? You and I go to the bathroom to shit, forgive my language. You and I go to, when we are hungry, now that everything is gone berserk in Nigeria, everybody is suffering. Is it not all of us that are suffering it? Before, if I'm going to come to Jos, I don't spend more than 10,000 naira to buy food. Now, I spend almost 100,000 naira to come here. Who is feeling the pain? Like the Vice Chancellor said, they try, politicians try in dividing us. They are the ones that brought this division. I grew up in Lagos. In the house that I grew up in, I had Ade, I had Moji, I had all these people. We sleep on the same bed, on the same mat. Because it was mat we were sleeping on that time. We ate from the same bowl. I did not even know that there was something called, when a Christian, when a Muslim. I didn't even think of it before. All my best friends growing up as a child, the first one was Chama in primary school, Chama Onino. The other one is Adrede. I didn't think that I have to be in an ethnic society for me to exist. We are killing ourselves by this ethno-religious nonsense about it. We're killing ourselves. And the earlier, the better if you are educated, if you know you are really educated, you will know that these things are not, they are propagandas that they use to program us so that we will be fighting, divide and rule strategy that they did in the past. They are dividing you, and while they are dividing you, they are stealing from you. They are stealing from your children and your children's children because of these ethnocentric and ethno-religious things. They give you arms, especially youth, to kill each other. They tell you that you are different from that person. And you believed it. It is sad, it's painful to see. The Nigeria I know today is not the Nigeria I knew before. It's very painful that my children are not growing up to see another person as a human being. They are seeing that person as a Christian or an Igbo. All these things are nonsense. If you really are educated, you should live above all of those things. And that's why when I started, I said I found a new father. Bishop is my father. Yes. Because he has similar upbringing like I did. We don't care where you come from. When we were doing our 2019 election, we went to Zonkwa in Kaduna State. And the lady that saw me, we sat down during the vice presidential thing. She started crying. I said, why are you crying? She kept crying. She kept crying. I begged her, why are you crying? This woman now opened her mouth and said that, I cannot believe that a northern woman can sit in my sitting room in Zonkwa. And she's a northerner. And she said, when I was growing up, my father was the pastor in our community, and the neighbor right next to us, his best friend, was the imam. And they ate from the same bowl, the father and her father. And the children, during Christmas, the imam will buy Christmas clothes for them. During Salah, their father will buy Salah clothes for them. Then what are we doing? What are we doing fighting each other? It is sickening. It is painful. And the earlier we live above these things, the better for us. Now the youth, I have your matter. You are 67%, the highest and the biggest demography in Nigeria. What are you going to do about it? You know that in population there's power. Now you've known what a nation builder is, should be, through the raising and the strategies of what motherhood should. What are you going to do about the power of your strength, the power of your population? What are you going to do about it? We cannot allow the charlatans to continue to rule us. We cannot. It's for you to agree in this peace that we need to flush out these people and get competent, capacity, and character-led people to rule this country. That way we get compassionate leadership. That way we are able to get people who care. And you all, it behoves you to learn more so that you know when you get there, you will not be as somebody will come to my state and say, I need 200 million. To do what? You will not be like those people. You will know that for every kobo you spend, you will be accountable to them. In conclusion, we can do more when we fuse our fingers together. I see that is the emblem of peace and justice international organization. We can do more when we fuse our fingers together to right the wrong of our communities, to mend the broken pieces of our society. We can do more when we refuse to see the little things that divide us, but the greater things that unite us. We can do more as mothers, as fathers, and as a community. Let us all do more. Thank you.
I think we can do more for Hajia. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. We truly are grateful and appreciate your commitment to building one Nigeria. If anyone seated here is not spurred to begin to think differently after Hajia's presentation, and indeed every speaker's presentation, then I think your case is different. Forgive me, no hard feelings to where that popular statement came from. Okay, so before we go on, I'm going to run through very quickly a list of a few dignitaries here. We have the representative from someone representing the Commissioner of Police, and he's by name Samuel Idowu, and he's officer in charge of legals. Can we please put our hands together for him? You're welcome, sir. We also have in our midst the representative from the FRSC, the Federal Road Safety Corps, in person of AG Movell. He's the Deputy Corps Commandant and Head of Training. You're welcome, sir. We have in our midst a representative from the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps by name Adetu Isaac Ochie. He is representing the State Commandant. You're welcome, sir. We also have with him the Assistant Commandant by name Tunde Oloyede. Forgive me if I pronounce that wrongly. We have a representative from ProHan, that's an arm of the Hunters Association. He's by name Joseph Bako, and he's the Unit Commandant, Buffalo. You're welcome, sir. We also have in our midst His Royal Highness, the Jos North Traditional Council leader by name Bala Haruna. You're welcome, sir. It's really good to have all of you sending strength and support to us. Forgive me if I have not been able to mention every dignitary or special guest we have. before the end of program, we will be sure to do that. And let me assure every one of you sitting that in no more than 30 minutes from now, we will be out of here. So please be patient, and we will round up program very soon. What we want to do now is move to the segment of the panel discussion. We're going to have our guest speakers upstage, and they will be responding to some questions we have put down. So quickly, I'm going to invite them. First on our list, let me start from, they say ladies first, so let me begin by introducing the female figure. Please, with a round of applause, can we bring back to stage Khadijah Abdullahi-Iya as one of our panelists. Okay, as she comes up, can we also, as one of our panelists, make welcome Honorable Emmanuel Ibeshi as one of our panelists. You're welcome, sir. Okay. Okay, our next on the list of panelists is our keynote speaker. I don't see him seated, but okay, I think he's walking right in. But on our panel is also Sam Ode, who is the programs coordinator for PSJ. Can you make welcome Sam Ode upstage? Okay. I believe that our keynote speaker has an engagement outside the hall. So I will invite him upstage the moment he comes back to the hall. So please relax and enjoy the panel discussion, and we will give room for a few questions before we round off. So, media, can we have microphones? So yes, do we have microphones for our respondents? Thank you. Welcome, sirs and ma. Thank you for pouring your hearts to us during the summit and now the conference. We're going to ask a few questions of you and then get responses very quickly. So I wanted to start with the woman, but okay, so let's just move on. Let me start with Honorable Ibeshi. The first question on my list is, we're talking about the role of CSOs in transformational leadership and social justice. Now, could you share an example of successful initiatives where civil society organizations have played a transformative role in promoting inclusive leadership and addressing systematic inequalities? So basically what we want, the response we're looking for, is an example of where civil society organizations have come together to play roles to foster transformational leadership and bridge the gaps of inequalities. I hope that question is clear, sir. Okay, sir.
I had to take a deep breath. Yesterday, when I was delivering my paper, I thought I had ended up giving all I expected should be given towards that. But listening to Archbishop tell me about Ajay Crowder and all the things that he did to re-psychologize Nigeria, I wound up being more confused and began to question myself whether I was able to deliver what I was supposed to do yesterday. And then by the time I listened to Professor Gundu, he put more confusion into my head for me to be able to know whether, as a politician, I had thought the process of what I was doing, or all my 32 years in politics, if it had impacted in any way at all. So when I put on my thinking cap from that perspective, I think we are still very far away. So we need to go back into a reorientation, not just the civil society organizations, but a national orientation that can tell us what it means to be Nigerian. The first question we need to ask ourselves is Nigeria a nation state? Can we say we are a nation? What are the things that bind us together? I began to see again from what Professor Gundu was talking about, completely a deviation from what we discussed yesterday, an aspect of neo-colonialism in our brains, in our psyche, in our leadership, in our political system. Like I tried to share yesterday, we don't really know what brand of democracy we are practicing in Nigeria. So we need to be able to let ourselves know the kind of democracy or politics we are playing in Nigeria. Is it a national thing, or is it a sectional thing, or is it a religious thing, just like Hajia was talking about? So with the right perspective, the right understanding, we will be able to question ourselves. Why does leadership fall short on delivering the dividends of democracy in Nigeria? We're not talking about military. We've been practicing this thing for the past 23 years non-stop. And since we started in 1999, I think this is the worst, the darkest period we've found ourselves as a nation. So where do we go from here? If you ask me about where civil societies have effected societal change from that perspective, am I going to talk about America? Am I going to talk about England? Of what use is that to us? Where has that succeeded here? I think that's what we should question. How do we bring these perspectives to become effective in changing the narrative? Like I said, the first thing to do, we need a national reorientation between Christians, Muslims, atheists, agnostics, and all that. The first binding thing should be that we are Nigerians. We are neither north nor south, east nor west. And the culture of impunity must go. The laws are made for some people to get away with certain things, and some other people must be crucified for the same things. Well, once they climb up to that position, they will naturally shield their principals from the right critique or criticism that will let them know exactly how they are performing before the polity. And if anybody comes up with criticism that seems to be anti their principles, they will screen it off and give him sycophantic stories because they want to maintain a certain class of authority. That's where Nigeria is right now. So, in a conference like where we are today, I would have loved Professor Gundu to be here, because where he began to question, because 3/4 of our problems are incubated in the churches and in the mosques. By the time the young Muslim activist gets into the mosque, his integrity quotient is questioned because he wants to do the right thing. The same thing happens to the Christian Pentecostal child. And they are set against each other. The only thing they will begin to see that they are fighting to make a difference is to be inculcated into the Ahithophel brigade so that they can belong. And so the moment they have been given that opportunity to come into that class of belonging, they know they are there for anointing for takeover. You are either being prepared to take over as governor, or being prepared to kick out the House of Rep member who was not seen to be loyal to the governor, or to kick off the senator who did not carry the beats of the governor or the president, and the cycle continues. So when we get back to the churches or to the mosque, there is no real principle that can engender that conscience, that consciousness, and that fear of God, that what was given into that child or that officer, that public servant, is the conscience to do the right thing and not to follow the bandwagon. I think that's where we are.
Wow, thank you. I think we can, yes, that was very apt. And thank you, sir, for touching on national reorientation. And I'm going to pick on that a little bit later while I return to you. I know that we have an agency in Nigeria called the National Orientation Agency. Now, do we leave that to them, or how does our civil society, I'll come back to that and then you'll answer it as your closing thoughts. So do we leave reorientation to the National Orientation Agency and no hard feelings towards them, or how do the civil society organizations, and indeed every strata of the society, how do we come in to ensure that Nigeria is really reorientated? So you can think through that while I come back to you as your closing thoughts. I'm going to move now to Hajia, and you have said quite a lot about the role of women, motherhood to nationhood, and all of that. Can you speak to us about what you believe civil society organizations can do to empower women? And indeed, because we know that there's a case of marginalization towards the women. So what do civil society organizations do? And we're not even trying to limit that to them. What does the nation need to do to empower women, give them a voice in the nation, and then, scrap out that marginalization so they can fly and contribute their quota towards building the nation?
So, thank you. What's your name?
Biama, I'm sorry, forgive me. Biama Joseph is my name.
Thank you, Biama Joseph, for the question. I think that there's a lot that the civil society and the government can do for women in civil society. I'll give you an example. I've been in civil society. We started Beyond Mentors Community Care Initiatives 16 years ago. I'll give you an example of what can be done. So there are 4 pillars that we must look at. Participation, give them a seat on the table, protection, prevention, recovery, relief and recovery. So I'll speak on those things. The organization that I run is called SI Group of Companies. And is actually SI Group of Social Enterprise. I cannot answer your question without giving you a practical example of the things that we need as a civil society organization, because we have a civil society, we have a community-based organization, all in that value chain. The first thing is where we talked about participation.
If you will, please.
Okay.
There's a lot of noise coming in the audience. Please, if we can halt whatever activity is going on so we can gain from the wealth of knowledge that is coming from our panelists. Please, can I enjoin that we maintain decorum and some silence? Okay.
I am an advocate. Just sharing food, I gave you an instruction. If it's going to distract us, stop that. In 20 minutes, we'll be out of here. Nobody's going to die because he did not eat. Is that okay? Please share it as decently and quietly as you can, otherwise you hold it. The noise is becoming too much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please forgive us, Ajay. You can
No,
continue.
that's fine. Thank you. So in 2016, we know we're talking about peace and justice. And my thing is about starting from the root. If our children and our mothers, even our boys, do not feel safe, do not have peace, and they do not feel that there's justice happening around them, even from their homes, we cannot go anywhere. We'll have damaged children. So in 2016, we discovered that every day, in 2016, every day, 6 out of 10 children are abused, are sexually abused every day. 4 out of 10 boys were sexually abused every day. In 2016, we got the data from the UN website and all of that. And a lot of people are talking it under the table. Nobody is speaking about it. One of the organizations we run is called SI Magazine Limited, and we did a social experiment, and we did a documentary and all of that, and we found out that was not enough. What can we do? That we can't get all of these data and then we keep quiet about it. What can we do better? And that was what birthed Women Community in Africa. It is the advocacy arm of Beyond Mentors Community Care Initiatives, because we cannot attach it to SI Magazine, which is a limited liability company. It has to be an organization who is under Part C. That's a social enterprise. So we attached it as the advocacy arm for Beyond Mentors Community Care Initiatives. Women Community in Africa now is a group of female women NGOs. That's why I'm telling you, I'm building on that. Women NGOs focus on our main reason that we came together is to fight gender-based violence and all its elements. And you know that you cannot do that alone. So we brought ourselves together to magnify the voices of the people. You must know, these NGO women, all these female NGO women fighting this gender-based violence are in different communities. Some are in the rural communities. So whatever we decide as a group, they will cascade the message down. And we now came together to have a summit, a huge summit. So initially the summit we wanted to do it so big that we went to try to invite Oprah Winfrey because she was abused before. And we know Nigerians are crazy about celebrities, and we know that when people like that talk, it magnifies the voices of gender-based violence. I went all the way to the US, and I went to meet this woman, Lady Aja Amina, and we talked. To cut long story short, we could not have it with them. We had it in 2018. Right? At that summit, a lot of people broke their silence. And then whenever we have summits like that, we come together and we have panel discussions and we have a communique. In that communique, what we did was there were expected outcomes that we needed to do. First and foremost, we needed to go to secondary schools at the rural areas in Abuja. We did go to secondary school at the rural areas in Abuja, Nasarawa, and Kaduna State. That was what our strength could do. And each school we went to, we built their mechanism on how they can protect themselves with practical examples, with demonstration on how they can protect themselves from predators, people that will abuse them. There were so many things that came out of it. We went to the police department, the gender department. What we did was also to bring their awareness anytime people bring issues to them, they say, "Now family matter, go and resolve your." So we needed to build their capacity to understand that if these children, if this, like my brother said here, impunity, if we allow people, impunity to exist in families, we're not going to go further. So we built their capacity. All the gender department in the police all over FCT, they came together and we built their capacity, making them understand all of that. I have to build this background before I come to how to support. We did that. Then everything we did, the communique, we submitted to National Assembly. So there are so many other things we did. We built flyers on where to touch. The child will see visuals on where they should touch you and where they should not touch you. One of our findings that was very devastating for me was a child came to me and told me that during our all of these CSOs that we work with. We need people like you and I when we have social media engagement. When you see things like, right now I'm wearing a badge, 16 days of activism. When you see things like that, you share, you like, you let people, let the conversation go out. Those are the kinds of support we need as women. We don't have the funds that we would cascade it like many other people. The people who even have the funds don't do as much as we do. But I give kudos to those people in women community in Africa who are doing so much despite the paucity of funds. And I think that every one of us here should be a part of the movement to stop gender-based violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajia. Thank you so much. She spoke about capacity building. So organizations that are seated here, you must understand or you must take the matter of capacity building very serious. And she also mentioned collaboration. So every one of us must synergize if this work must be done at a great level. I think I got that from Ajia. So, but I will return to you a little later with your closing thoughts on what successes you have recorded. Because I think that will go a long way to encourage us to know that the work that has been done at the organizational level, at other organizational level, the success that have been recorded. So I'll come back to you with that question. So you can see that this is a combination of the youth, the younger advocates for social justice, and the little older ones. By this I mean we're going to hear from Sam Ode, and this is your question, sir. Can you talk to us about the challenges that the youth have faced and are still facing in their effort to, advocate or promote social justice? So what are the challenges that the young, in Nigeria they say that we're not too young to run, right? They say not too young to run, but we're not getting the opportunities to run. They are stifling our. So let me not be the one to say it. Let's hear it from somebody. What are the challenges, and what do you think that civil society organizations can do to support the youth?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. In advocacy and also leadership in Nigeria, over the years we have seen that youth are oppressed or suppressed when it comes to the leadership of this nation. And also the challenges, we have great youths with great minds, innovation, thinking ability, and all this nation needs to transform. But one of the challenges we face basically is resources. And I will give it in two ways. There is nothing you can do when it comes to leadership or politics that you don't need resources. When we talk about the funds and the supports you get from people. Again, you see people say this youth does not have the capacity or the money to campaign during elections. Well, he is good. He has all the qualities to be the leader of the nation or the community, but they judge him basically because he doesn't have money. And they look at the other thief, the other one that is draining the coffers of the nation, the treasure, and they'll say, no, this one have money, at least he's the letter devil. We're doing campaigns, we can make money from this one while throwing away things. These are challenges. And again, we face opposition from our leaders. They don't, in their nature, in their actions, they don't want the youth to rise. And I will tell you that the only thing that we can beat these challenges is to unite ourselves as youth and rise. Because there's a need to rise. Rising is not just shouting out, we will do this, we will do this. No, we have had, for 20 years now, we've seen youth who advocated, they said this nation must change. Add 20 years to their age. Some of them are 40, some of them are 50, and yet nothing has been done. So there's a need for us to unite, look at the challenge, and become champions of that challenge. Because without challenges, we cannot have champions. So there must always be a battle, and in every battle, you cannot say you're a warrior when you have not faced a battle. There is a battle before us. And that battle, we have seen the issues of insecurity, we have seen the issue of marginalization, we have seen the issue of majority and minority rights, and this has affected the youth. Let me tell you, from the state I'm coming from, I'm Idoma by tribe. So with the numbers we have, or with our inputs to the progression of this country, the progress of this nation, I can tell you that in my state, I can't even be the governor. Now, I am married to an Igbo woman, and then generally it is said that the Igbos cannot be. So my own son is on a disadvantaged side, and I cannot allow him to rise to fight the battle. I gave birth to him. I'm his father. I must fight the battle for him.
Come on, please, you can do better for somebody. Wow. A passionate youth speaking right there. So, young people, the challenge is not a disadvantage. Do we agree that there's a challenge on ground? Yes. But do we need to rise to the occasion? Yes. Thank you so much, Samodi. Now, because we're really short of time, I'm going to beg our panelists to stick to 1 minute each as we give our closing thoughts. So I said something about, do we leave this work of national reorientation to the National Orientation Agency? We agree that they're doing a good job. But what can the other strata of society do in the bid to reorient our nation?
Thank you. I would like to put, I don't want to go beyond 1 minute. And to give that 1 minute some substance, I'd like to put our uniformed guests on the spot. What is the spot? For instance, if he's the sector commander in this state, psychologically, as he's going out of here, his car will beat all the traffic lights with impunity. Same thing with road safety. Why? Because the orientation is wrong. They should be the ones to stop at the traffic light. Same thing with the police, same thing with the army, same thing with the commissioner, same thing with the House of Rep, senator, whatever. They cannot obey simple traffic light. Something's wrong. It does not end there. We have seen where we have bishops. They can't carry their Bible. There are other boys, smaller pastors who must be bishops' boys, pastors' boys. I love what Bishop was talking about, Ajayi Crowder. If he's changed our psychology the way he did, what is the example that we have to follow? Same thing with our mosques. If we trace, I love the way Bishop always talks about Kanu's politics. He mentions, he reels all of them. And I have not heard you, sir, from Aminu Kanu to Balarabi Musa, where are the Christians amongst those people? These are the issues. And so when you begin to look at all the types that we have influencing our behavioral patterns, the buck stops in the church and the mosque. Thank you.
Whoa. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for that concluding thoughts. I won't say anything beyond that. Let Hajia speak to us about the successes that civil society organizations have recorded in supporting women to champion social justice.
So I will say thank you again. And I'll say one that came to mind immediately when you asked that question is in 2020, during the COVID time, our advocacy, the things that we did around that time, now forced the Women Affairs Ministry, the Ministry of Women Affairs, to now start take a database of women who are into gender-based violence, who are doing something. Now, they now have a directory of those ones. That's one. Two, they were able to open a sex offenders register in the FCT. I think that should be cascaded in the entire state. Three, they were also able to have a response team that once somebody has been, because during COVID, we were overwhelmed in our organization with issues of gender-based violence, spousal battery, children, fathers raping their children, and it was overwhelming. What they did was, now they have a response team that once that happens immediately, you can send a report to them and then they will record it. Yesterday we were at the Federal Secretariat. We met with the Mandate Secretary for Women Affairs for the FCT, and she also said that she wanted to collaborate with us because she has seen the work that we've done. So I think that we're shifting place, because by the time you partner with big like governments and all of that, your voices are heard better. They help you to magnify the work that you do, and then there will be impact, the effective impact that we need for our society. Thank you.
Thank you, Hajia. Thank you so much. I don't think I've ever heard that there was something called the response team and that's significant, I think. Thank you so much for what you're doing. So we're back to Sam Ode. Now, can you talk to the youth that are sitting in this room? You said we need to unite. We need to come together to face the challenge. Now, as they are walking out of this hall today, what is that one thing you want to say to them, a young person to a young person, that they can begin to do in that direction?
One of the things that we must do as youth is to take responsibility of leadership. We don't throw the blame games on our leaders, and we are not taking responsibility of leadership. It starts in our community, it starts in our family. You don't shy away from the issues in your community. The community I came from, my me Angwan knows me from, I think, from when we packed, I was a boy. He knows. Nothing goes wrong in that community, I don't draw their attention. Be you elder, or I'll tell you, this thing you people are doing is wrong. This must be done. There are times we mobilize ourselves during the rainy season, there's no road. Governments will not come and give us road. We organize ourselves, we create drainage with diggers and shovel. We come out on Saturdays, and if our parents are passing, we stop them. This is your responsibility. It's either you contribute to this or you are not going out. Wow. So what they do is to give money. So we can't wait. I am tired of criticizing the government. I am tired of speaking against the government. I want to be that generation that will rise to the occasion of leading this country. Now, let me tell you the thing. Nigeria itself and the generation of our fathers, likes of Kwashi, cannot deny the fact that we are the first generation of the youth Nigeria has. Their generation enjoyed going to school, their welfare is being provided. They saw you graduate, they give you car, B2, they give you 406. Our generation, we graduate from school, we are unemployed. Yeah. We graduate from school, in fact, before you graduate, a lot of challenges. We have to go on the street to fight in a nation where they tell us that education is free. We have to fight to make sure there is no increment of school fees. So I'll tell you that they can't tell us that during their days they have it on the platter of gold. But we have to go to the gold mines, dig it and refine it. So that is me saying that we have to take the responsibility. Let me tell you something. Either PDP, APC, whoever comes to tell you that I will transform this nation, if you are not part of the transformational plan of that nation, that person cannot transform the nation.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you. So young people, take responsibility for leadership. That came from somebody. Thank you so much. Thank you. We could go on and on, but truly, we're out of time. Thank you, Hajia, Khadijah, Abdullahi-Iya. Please put your hands together for them. Thank you, Honorable Emmanuel Ibeshi, and thank you, Sam Ode. You can graciously take your seats. Thank you so much.
A round of applause, please, for our panel. Thank you so much, Biama. Take responsibility for leadership. That stuck with me. And it's our desire and hope that we don't just hear this as a theoretical word. The desire for this conference is that we run with all of these lectures that we've heard. In our society, in whatever capacity we find ourselves, in school, in the marketplace, in our offices, be the change that we desire. We cannot just stand out and expect the government to do everything. We all have a responsibility. Once more, I'd like to say thank you to our panel. At this moment, I would love to invite on stage our host, Archbishop Benjamin Argak Kwashi, for the closing remark, please. A round of applause for him as he comes on stage.
Let me thank our MC, Kanki Goti. Please give her a hand. Let me thank the board of directors of PSJ. Major Joseph Muhammad Abdullah is here, Becky. Beshi, who was also here, but I wanted to thank him as one of those presenters who has helped this conference a great deal. So give him a double round of applause. And my dear daughter, proud of you. Any day, I've listened to you before. I've listened to your campaigns before meeting you. Khadijah Abdullahi, please give her a round of applause. Our able, very able, quiet, solid, calculated, and a goal getter, Ishaya Durkwa. Give him a hand. And to all of you who have come to this conference, thank you for coming. Please clap for yourselves. My closing remarks is very simple. We talked about reform. We talked about justice and transformation. But that is what you will now take into governance, and that will bring peace into civility. So if you are not in this area, you can never do anything good here. Let me just briefly put it to you this way. When Ajayi Crowther in 1842 began to preach the gospel, and you must understand that he was not preaching the gospel just as we do now. No. He was a community servant. So he brought back from Sierra Leone Fulani slaves who were freed, brought them back to Lokoja. He brought back Nupe people, brought them to Lokoja. In fact, he was so distinguished as a leader that by 1868, when the traders from England were bringing in their wares, they also brought alcohol. Ajayi Crowther brought rice to the Nupe king. The name of the king, the emir at that time, Etu Nupe, was Etu Masaba. And when they bring alcohol in trade, the poor Nupe people would drink alcohol drunk, and they were not farming rice. The Etu Nupe wrote to Ajayi Crowther. He said, our leader, only you can talk to these white men to stop ruining our people with barasa, barasa, barasa. The letter is still there. You can ask Etu Nupe. And Ajayi Crowther went and told the white men to stop bringing alcohol in Nupe land. To the extent that the Nupe people loved the bishop. And that was how they gave him land in Bida to start St. John's in 1857. You see, when you are a reformer, it knows no religion. The district head of Ikara gave me land in Ikara. He said, Kaira barang Kwashi, idang abun da kake kenan na baka fili. Sir, Ikara today is a diocese. When you are a reformer, it knows no gender. You are one who stands straight. Why? Because you will bring transformation to the community. The number of orphans is incredibly much. You are clapping that we had about 54 orphans. Actually, it's more than that. The number of orphans totaling that Gloria Ladidi is not me. This thing is Ladidi. She's the one who has ruined my pocket and my bank account. She wants to save the whole world. She is the transformer. Please clap for Ladidi. She feeds over 400 orphans every day from Sunday to Sunday in the last 15 years. The ones in our house is simply because they cannot go anywhere. If you put them in the street today, no known relative. They are just our children. They are adopted by law. We've adopted 72 by law in our house. I told you, I said, when you have a woman like Khadijah Abdullahi-Iya, sir, they will save the world. I'm just feeling sorry for Alhaji because his pocket is going to finish. It is women. She got it right. So when people are chosen to be transformers and they institute justice, because they're not looking at they don't care. They want justice for boys and girls. Anybody who abuses a boy and a girl, jail him. Some Christian men who are leaders in the church, they sold church land. Our own church land. I arrested them, handed them over to the police. They came and said, no, as Christians, we should not take our case to the court. I said, excuse me, I swear to God, I did not take Christians to court. I took thieves to court. If you are a Christian, don't steal, don't cheat, don't lie. I don't care whether I'm a Muslim or Christian. I will jail you, sir. There is nothing like a born-again thief. None. If you are born again, you are born again. Justice. Take it to governance. And Honorable, she just put it right. The army I joined, we were trained to be selfless. If you had met me, then you would have been in trouble. Major Beki, you only heard about it. Because I was a provost. At age 15, I was commanding a block. And I was responsible for 45 young children. As a provost, I was a corporal in NMS. So when a boy is arrested for anything, nobody will talk to that boy. They will say, where is Corporal Kwashi? I say, sir, you allow this boy, his uniform is dirty. It is me that I will be dealt with. So I agree with Ode. We must take responsibility. I agree with Hajia. We must take responsibility for our children. If my son goes out in the street and Anche Shegen Yaro Nesa, it's me they're talking about. They're not talking about him. That is the responsibility we must bring into governance. Because we must begin to train that governor. Thank you, ma. From home. My mother beat the hell out of me. She struggled with me. I wouldn't say more than that. But when God changed my life, she didn't even believe it. She said, Kai Benji, Kariani Kakei. I said, Gaskia Mama, Natuba. Because that's all she wanted to see, a changed man. She died in my house, smiling. We didn't know she was saying bye-bye. She was healthy. We nicknamed her Mama Say Godia because that night she would look, she said, Subenji, Harkema Bishop. Say Godia. The following morning she was dead, so we nicknamed her corpse Say Godia. That's what mothers are. They raise the leaders from the house in the same way they raise the thieves from the house. So if you are a crook, we know who your mother is. If you are a good child, we know who your mother is. Bring it to governance because that is the only way we will secure peace and civility. Please, from today, if you are going to be a transformer, raise your hand, let me see. Put down your hand. From today, when you see a girl anywhere, the job, the way my father brought me up, the job of a man is to protect a woman, to provide for her, and to make sure that she's not abused. So when you see a girl anywhere, whether she's your sister or not, give her the first place. Say, please. It will not take anything from you. A gentleman is known by the way he treats a lady, by the way he treats an orphan, and by the way he treats a widow. That's a gentleman. If you see your colleague, a fellow man, I don't know how our English has gone so rotten because in Yoruba they say, Ejo, sir. Please, sir. But we don't have please now when we talk. Say, oh boy, bring in this thing here. Even if it's a shopman, say, please, I beg, can I buy this? Let's be courteous. Let's be courteous. Let's be polite. Let's be gentle and kind to one another. This country will change. Because, like she said, the charlatans, they are very rude. And the only reason they look for office is so that they can oppress other people and match their heads. They are very rude. Hey, come here, you. Sergeant. Oh, yeah. Police. Hey. FRC. Don't you know I am? Give way, give way. They are rude. They are badly brought up. Politeness, kindness, goodness. That is who we are. Not your religion. You can say Jesus' name anytime. Sir, if you are not kind or polite, whether you are a pastor or bishop, it's all useless to the society. You have nothing to offer. Finally, all that our speakers have said boils down to one thing. Let us be selfless. Let us not be self-centered. Let us be willing to sacrifice for others. Because this battle you raise your hands for, you need a couple of things. Number one, you need endurance. Be ready for this battle. Ode has said it. Don't give up. This country must change. Your children must change. Your Ongwa must change. That is why you are here. Thank you. Have a great day and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, can we have a photo session for the, for our guests? We're done. So please feel free to leave the hall right now. Feel free, we're done. Is there any announcement?
Sorry, please. Quick announcements. Please settle down. Settle down. Quick announcements. Please, let's settle down.